of a few theories. The first thing is narratives. Narratives are very important. Now, the people who get to tell the stories are the people who rule the world. There are so many false narratives out there. Of course, this is about workplace mobbing, but we're going to go into different areas. Because to me, workplace mobbing is a symptom of a greater problem. I keep mentioning neoliberalism and late stage capitalism. I keep talking about how we've been polarized, and we have been polarized as a society. And I kind of feel sometimes that I'm just out of the matrix a little bit and I'm watching things from a distance. I'll tell you how I see it. You may or may not agree, but I'm going to give you a little bit of a perspective that's different than probably a lot of the mainstream stuff that you hear out there. Okay, so we talk about right wing and left wing, and we see it all over the place. You know, we see the fascists and the neo-Nazis fighting against Muslims, migrants. I believe these people have been brainwashed by false narratives. By the same token, we see these extreme left-wingers, the people fighting to be called they instead of he or she, like the whole transgendered thing. In any case, I'm thinking of that one, but there are so many other issues, okay? So we have this crazy right wing and this crazy left wing, and they keep talking about it on the media. In politics, we have people there that look like they're 12 years old, okay? We've never seen this before. We've never seen leaders that are in their 30s and 40s, and it's just crazy. Now, I'm not an ageist, okay? I'm not an ist of anything as far as I'm concerned. I'm a humanist. There, that's what I am. Okay. But we see this, and, they say with age comes wisdom. Not all the time. You can have some pretty bright young people, don't get me wrong. But when you see people ruling countries before the age of 40, it's different, okay? It's different. But when you see the type of policies that are put into place, it makes you scratch your head a little bit. Okay, we're at the late stages of capitalism. You start to look and wonder what the heck is going on here. The minimum wages have not gone up in accordance with our cost of living. All of this stuff happened in the 1970s, by the way. Okay, and so anyhow, I'm going to go back a little bit. Here's the theory. The theory is that our world is run by not narcissists, but psychopaths. The powers that be are not governments, but banks, private banking interests. It is not a conspiracy theory. I'm going to tell you the root of the evil and what it is, and check it out for yourselves. You don't have to believe me. The root of this ugly form of capitalism, people call it democracy. This is not democracy, folks. This is something much more insidious and much uglier. But here we go. At the root of all of this is the Bank for International Settlements. I invite you to do a little research from the time of Nazi Germany, actually say 1930, okay, and forward. Just check out the BIS, then check out Nazi Germany, and then look at what happened in the 1970s. Now I'm going to speak specifically about Canada. Prior to the 1970s, prior to the time when the gold standard was basically removed by President Nixon in the U.S., at the time that the Trilateral Commission was formed, what happened in Canada is that prior to the 1970s, Canada would borrow money for any kind of infrastructure project or any kind of war effort. Canada would borrow money from its own central bank, which is the Bank of Canada. So what did that mean, and what's the difference if we're borrowing money from our own central bank versus a privately held central bank? Mean that the interest payments would come back to Canada. That's pretty interesting, right? Well, in the 1970s, all of that changed. So what happened was, instead of borrowing money from our own central bank, it's not that the Bank of Canada doesn't exist, it's just its mandated purposes changed. Okay, So what happens is we have at the core the Bank of International Settlements. That's kind of like the hub for other central banks, which are all privately held. All right. So these aren't just systems. There are people behind this. This is a purposeful thing, folks. Okay? This is the ugly in terms of capitalism. So there are people behind these banks that don't do much other than rake in the dough. We talk about spreading democracy throughout the globe. Well, when you start to look at the patterns, right, in terms of what the IMF does, what the World Bank does, and in terms of all of the destabilization that we see in the world right now, this isn't a question of spreading democracy. Take a look at what's happening in Yemen, right? Well, this is purposeful. All of this money, again, that has no real backing, that's controlled by the Bank of International Settlements, there's interest to be paid on this extreme amount of money, right? And there are a lot of people who benefit from this. They talk about the military-industrial complex. Huge benefits to these folks, right? Now, who pays for all of this? Well, you got the little guys, taxpayers. Taxpayers that are busy being polarized against each other. It's pretty crazy when you think about it. Right wing and left wing, Islam versus Christianity, Buddhism versus God knows what. It's insane. I think of it in terms of, I'm going to put a link. I like watching this show Shameless because it's full of social commentary, a lot of which makes me laugh because it's very honest and true. There's a character named Frank Gallagher. And, his grandson in one of the episodes, who's literally, he has an IQ of 70 or something. The kid wrote an essay and he took the side of Hitler. Okay, he did an essay on Mein Kampf, and he took the side of Hitler, and the school said, oh my God, he gets a 0 on his book report, and we're going to expel him, and all kinds of stuff. And Frank takes a stand for his grandson. He says, listen, he goes, the kid, we're entitled to all our opinions here, right? This is the beauty of democracy. Every idiot is entitled to an opinion. And you know what? It's true. Informed, uninformed, intelligent, unintelligent. We're all entitled to our opinion and freedom of speech. Okay? Now, yes, hate speech is a different thing. So the school is like, well, you know what? This is hate speech. And he said, listen, the hate speech, no hate speech, black, brown, Aryan, Jewish, Muslim, Christian, brown, black, white, yellow. In the end, all of this stuff is going to disappear. And all you're going to be left with is the rich and the screwed. Now, I laughed. I'm not the right wing or left wing, like I said. I find them both absolutely ridiculous because I see what's happening. And I see this polarization as being done on purpose. If we don't wake up and do our homework, they're not going to teach you this stuff in school. But if you start to look at what banking interests are, how this stuff works, what the military-industrial complex is, and you stop believing the false narratives and start thinking for yourself, wow, that's pretty dangerous, folks. Could you imagine we all got together? Black, white, native, Asian, everybody in the big soup, Muslim, Christian. Everybody gets together, all the plebs, and they say, wow, system's really playing with us right now. Right? How far do you think that system would get? Not too far. So when we look at all of these things, again, I'm talking about workplace mobbing, it's not an accident that instances of workplace mobbing are through the roof. People in general, okay, and we saw it with all those social psychology studies, don't think the powers that be don't look at this stuff. They absolutely do. They understand how to manipulate populations, and that's what they do. So you could either sit back and believe those narratives, or you could take a little bit of a deeper look, start to understand what's going on a little bit, start to challenge those narratives. Their only pleasure is to take people who are light, who have something, who understand a little bit, and quash them. It's like a little bit of a covert war, if you will. So the people at the very top are the psychopaths. They're aided and abetted by the malignant and covert narcissists, okay? And what is their aims? To extinguish any kind of other narrative, the potential of any other narrative. So I invite you to think about that a little bit. I'm going to continue on this series. Is it going somewhere? Yes, it is. Because I keep talking about the scales of behavior, all right? And I'm going to start with the emotionality scale. That's going to be my next video. But for now, I just wanted to set the stage for what's up and coming, all right? And that's it for now. I wish you a great day. Just a little food for thought for all of you. Agree, disagree, like or dislike. Feel very impassioned about this. And before I started my day, I said I'm going to throw this out there and see what people think. All right. You take care. Have a great day. Love, peace, respect, self-respect. Foxy D signing off and inviting you to share your stories and your narratives too. We got to build a community of us and challenge the false. All right. Come up with something real. All right, my friends. You take care.